Welcome to That's Good Sports. I'm Brandon. I totally forgot former Broncos receivers Benny and the Catch and Cody Latimer were Giants receivers, Perna. There's something weird going on with the Giants receivers, by the way. You have starters Golden Tate and Sterling Shepard, but also fourth stringers named Russell Shepard and Britton Golden, who the Giants acquired because of Brexit, of course, and undrafted free agent Reggie White Jr. Yes, the son of Reggie White is a receiver for the Giants. The Giants have two golden boys, two shepherds to lead the flock, and Reggie White's son. And all Pat Shurmur can talk about is how great Daniel Jones and Eli Manning are at sex?
Very calm in their approach, but they're very fiery under the covers, and I think that's the,
How would he even know?
They're very fiery under the covers.
Good at sex or riddled with STDs? You let me know in the comments while I break down the entire Giants offseason. From free agency to the draft, we predict last place in the NFC East or just ahead of Washington by the end of the 2019 season for the Giants. That's good sports. The 2018 Giants were essentially the 2017 Giants plus Saquon Barkley, minus Ben McAdoo. That's what they call addition by addition and subtraction, or the matrix difference equation for math nerds. The season was essentially doomed as soon as they decided to pick a running back at number 2 overall and put the most unathletic quarterback in the league behind one of the worst offensive lines on the Eastern Seaboard. Now, before I give my input on the Giants draft and key additions and key losses, let's check in with some of YouTube's most famous Giants fans, only Giants fans, Adam from 5-Point Vids. Adam, how did you feel about the Giants offseason? Okay, either Adam didn't give a shit about collaborating with me so I could promote his YouTube channel, 5-Points Vids, or the Giants turned him into the chief from One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. Actually, if you put a wig on Adam, that could be him. Let's see what Hunter has to say from the Bengal YouTube channel.
I really would like to start on a positive note because I feel like the rest of the video is going to be fairly negative. But there's really not that much to be positive about. The offseason for the Giants really started at the trade deadline when they traded away the best nose tackle in football for a 5th round pick to the Lions in Damon Harrison, only to use a 1st round pick, number 17 overall, on another nose tackle in Dexter Lawrence out of Clemson.
Aw, you mean national champion Dexter Lawrence, who at 310 pounds can do the splits? That's a massive upgrade at the position, regardless of what any of the stats say.
You know what they say about Golden Tate, who's going to be signed till he's 35? Receivers get better as they approach their mid-30s. The Giants' offseason was a disaster. Now, they did add some talent. Deandre Baker, maybe?
Now, Bengal is close to hitting 100,000 subs, so check out his channel, and Adam's too, I guess. So let's start with key losses for the Giants. Oh boy, where do I start? This is a list longer than Arya Stark's, maybe longer than Steve Buscemi's list in Billy Madison. Their first major loss was all-pro safety Landon Collins, who they basically just didn't make an offer to. Not only is he gone, he goes in the division to the Redskin Potatoes. And of course, the big loss was wide receiver Odell Beckham Jr., who they traded to the Browns, along with edge rusher Olivier Vernon in exchange for guard Kevin Zeitler and safety Jabrill Peppers, plus a 1st and 3rd rounder. Okay, so I guess the list isn't that long, it's just a stupid list, like a vegan grocery list. Trading Beckham was one of the weirdest moves I've seen in sports. Other players to go were Jamon Brown, B.W. Webb, Josh Morrow, Mario Edwards, and Curtis Riley. Now, the Giants' key additions this offseason, they didn't have as many additions as, well, replacements. And not the good replacements like Keanu Reeves or Paul Westerberg, who said, "If being afraid is a crime, we stand side by side." Which is probably exactly how Giants fans feel when watching games together. Beckham was replaced by Golden Tate, who signed for 4 years, $37 million. And keeping with their theme of hopefully ending the season, Soaking wet with joy from golden showers, they signed edge rusher Marcus Golden, a third golden piece. Is it fool's gold or Venezuelan default gold? Only time will tell. Neither sound good, though. They replaced Landon Collins with Jabrill Peppers, which is like replacing ice cream with just peppers.
Instead of French toast for breakfast, why not eat a bell pepper?
Kevin Zeitler's definitely a true upgrade, and the fact that Eric Flowers left for Washington is a pretty obvious case of addition by subtraction. Quadratic equation. They added Antoine Bethea at safety, hoping that they now qualify for Social Security to help make payroll every week. Old joke. They also picked up Von Miller's personal turnstile, Mike Rimmers, for 1 year at $2.5 million. And despite Rimmers getting tossed aside like a salad in Wisconsin, he's another upgrade for that offensive line, and they're giving Eli a chance in the pocket this year. If there's anything to be excited about as a Giants fan, it's that offensive line with Nate Solder, Will Hernandez, and Kevin Zeitler, or as I call them, the Hardy Boys. My favorite move, though, for the Giants was signing wide receiver Sterling Shepard to a $41 million extension, and not just because I'm excited to see where they inexplicably trade him with his new contract next year, but because I think he's one of the more underrated receivers in the league. He's a perfect number 2, just like Golden Tate. The Giants are 2 number 2s, which is what we in the biz call an analogy inside a metaphor, inside a literal representation of what their season will probably be. Although Tate still uses his number 1 to fertilize the turf as seen here, it doesn't translate to wins. The Giants draft. Oh boy, the Giants draft. They had 3 picks in the first round. They had number 6 overall because they sucked. And then number 17 overall because they sucked enough to trade Odell Beckham Jr. And as everyone remembers, they took a quarterback, Daniel Jones, out of Duke at 6. I would ramble on and on about how this was a huge reach, how he was more of a second-round pick, how he doesn't have any standout traits, how he would have been available at 17, how he only got scouted at the Senior Bowl, how Josh Allen was still available, how they could have traded down, how this was obviously the wrong pick to everyone on earth but the New York Giants organization. But of course, I'm not going to get into all of that. We've heard that before. At 17, they took Dexter Lawrence, the nose tackle out of Clemson, basically, again, to replace a high-quality player they traded mid-season in Snacks Harrison. I'm sure Lawrence will be a good player, but there's also the question of how valuable nose tackles are in the age of spread offenses. They're nice to have, but probably not worth a first-rounder. Also, Snacks Harrison, graded out as the best run defender for defensive interior players in the NFL every year dating back to 2015, where he was just second behind Aaron Donald. Last year, because of when he was traded to the Lions, he became the first defensive lineman to play a full 17 games in the regular season, as he never got a bye week. Probably why he and Darius Slay are now holding out in Detroit. Usually, if you play 17 games in a season, it's because your team made the playoffs. With their 3rd pick in the first round, the Giants selected corner from Georgia, Deandre Baker. I like this pick, and I think the Baker character concerns are more fabricated than Ben McAdoo's hair was. If you take out Jones, I like the 2 defenders the Giants took in the first round. But then again, I recommended Michael Vick as a dog walker, so what the fuck do I know? Those first 3 picks got so much attention, you may have forgotten New York selected 7 players after DeAndre Baker, 5 of which were defenders. You have O'Shane Examinis from Old Dominion, who sounds like a dream George R.R. Martin had, which means he will be perfect, the perfect edge rusher until his 8th season. Corner Julian Love from Notre Dame, Ryan Conley, inside linebacker from Wisconsin, then it was Auburn receiver Darius Slayton, who will either have the worst or best game of his career when covered by Lions corner Darius Slay. Oddly, with their final pick, the Giants took another Slayton, Syracuse defensive lineman Chris Slayton. And I'm surprised there were any Syracuse defenders left in the 7th round after the Raiders got done raiding their team. Also, Corey Ballentine, a corner from Washington, and a tackle, George Asafo Ajay. The Giants get a draft grade of a B, okay? Because half of these defenders they selected might turn into good players. And again, every team gets a B. I don't care what any expert says, it's all a fucking B. because it's all unknown. Now, do the Giants have a breakout player for 2019? It's cheating to say Saquon Barkley. Also probably too late to say Eli Manning. So I really have to dig deep here. Plus, Saquon Barkley is my most likely to get your girlfriend to watch football when she sees him do this player for 2019. I'd like to pick one of the linebackers, a guy like Tate Davis, in his second year, but I don't know who the hell will start at linebacker, and honestly, I don't know much about football. I mean, any of the Giants linebackers. So I'm going to say tight end Evan Ingram. Engram had a great rookie season, aided by the fact that every Giants receiver got injured in 2017, a plague that followed Engram into 2018. He suffered a concussion in preseason, sprained his MCL in September, and pulled a hamstring in November, hindering his production last year. Golden Tate and Sterling Shepard are both about 5'10", which makes Engram at 6'3" the biggest starting ball catcher for the Giants. Most of New York's receivers are undersized, which is why I think we will see Engram heavily involved in the passing game in the red zone, or when Eli Manning simply gets tired of throwing the ball to guys short enough to be my mom. Giants' biggest weaknesses 2019, you've got edge rushers, weakness, probably linebackers, maybe corners. So in a word, defense. Does safety Antoine Bethea entering his 14th season scare you? No. Does lifetime underperforming linebacker Alec Ogletree scare you? No, maybe. Last season, he had a career high 5 interceptions and 2 touchdowns. Very impressive for a linebacker. 5 picks was the 5th best in the NFL for any player, which is a stat mostly dominated by corners and safeties. So credit James Betcher, defensive coordinator, for utilizing Ogletree's athleticism last year. Second-year player BJ Hill and rookies Dexter Lawrence and DeAndre Baker may be the best players on that defense in 2019. Which is probably good news for the future of the Giants defense, but right now, I don't think that unit is forcing any offensive coordinators to snort Adderall in preparation for all-night Giants film study sessions. Wait, correction, sorry, I take back what I said about DeAndre Baker. Seeing that he wore shoes he purchased from Gay Shredder on draft night clearly shows poor decision-making skills, and I now agree with the character concerns. So what's the final prediction for the Giants? The Giants' 2019 season was essentially doomed the day we all learned that every Disney princess probably had an abortion. And God knows Aladdin didn't help pay for that shit. Riff raff, street rat, you gonna take care of that. The Giants did improve from 2017 with a 3-13 record to 5-11 in 2018, and even though they let talent vanish at a rate of honeybees, I think they could actually improve all the way up to 6-10 this year. It really depends on whether or not the Giants' offensive line is actually improved. On paper, they look solid, but on paper, Tom Brady should have retired or be in jail. Eli Manning was sacked 47 times last season. That's 6th most. That's 2 more times than Josh Rosen. Now guys like Deshaun Watson, Dak Prescott, Aaron Rodgers, and Russell Wilson were all sacked more than Eli. So a high sack rate doesn't necessarily mean the QB is having a bad year, but all of those players make a lot of plays by running or extending plays outside of the pocket, something Eli only does about once every 10 years in the Super Bowl. I think if the line protects him consistently, he will play better. And I don't even want to imagine how good Saquon Barkley can be with better running lanes. Asking Eli to do less and leaning on Barkley with better blocking on long drives could be a huge help to the defense that looks terrible on paper. This is a team that drafted Barkley with the idea of going all in at the end of Eli Manning's career, and then a year later spent the 6th pick on Daniel Jones. So they are somewhere stuck between making a last run with Eli and going full rebuild. I think the lack of a consistent plan blows up in their face, and they have another 5-11 to 6-10 season at best. They are bad again, but not bad enough for a top 3 pick. Daniel Jones will start at some point, either because Eli is bad or hurt or possibly both, and then Jones will turn a few heads simply by looking competent. And that's how they get to 6-10, and that's the Giants episode. Thanks for watching That's Good Sports here on YouTube. Please subscribe to this channel. Share it with your bestest friends. I'm on Twitter, Instagram, at Brandon Perna if you want to follow me there. Also, my writing partner at WillKey6 helps me write football stuff. All of these videos, he helps me. So follow him too.